Coming up this week on Beyond the Vibe, we're joined by Rob Chapman, YouTuber and founder of Chapman Guitars, and known for being one of the faces of Andertons Music Co.
Is there any chance you could be the captain? And he went, why? And I said, we're in a ship. You're the captain of a boat. And he went, all right. This is being filmed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All right, let me show you a brand new guitar then. This is a private
it's beautiful, man.
It's wonderful.
Received in the mail yesterday from a brand called Chapman Guitars. I'm working on a hollow body V. It'll be called the Hollow Wing, and it will be hollow body, but you won't see an F hole. It'll just be hollow but covered. I've grown tired of studio perfection music and everything polished, and I want the hair on it. I want the dirt. I want the realness. Aches, the warts and all. It's those little glitches that give it personality and that make me remember it.
The show that cuts deep into the world of music.
My name is Aaron Day, lead guitarist of UK band These Wicked Brewers, and I am here with music videographer and photographer, Mr. Ryan Vasey.
It is.
On the sofa.
I mean, that couldn't have sounded more creepier if you tried. But
I like announcing where I'm sat.
Yes. It's what we do.
Yes.
But yes, you will notice, obviously, we have a lot of lights this week.
I said I'm not going to do it unless I'm well lit.
Yeah.
Ryan said, well, you better sort it then, and then multiple lamps appeared. It's like Blackpool Illuminations in it. I'm getting a tan.
When you arrived at the house, apparently there was a glow coming from there.
Didn't need sat-nav, just follow the glow. It was like the Bible. It was like the Bible. It was like the story of the birth of Jesus. I followed the star to Mr. Vasey's home.
Yes.
You do refer to yourself as the Son of Christ as well, so it all links in together.
Of course. What guest do we have this week?
What guest do we have? It's a different kind of guest.
It is.
A guest that rose to prominence through kind of the YouTube guitar sort of demo generation. Mr. Rob Chapman, otherwise known as Chappers, otherwise known as the Monkey Lord. He's known as the Monkey Lord, that's not bollocks.
Right.
Yes. On his emails he says Monkey Lord Limited.
I mean,
big fan of.
Yeah, got to be.
But yes, I mean, I first discovered Chappers, which most people did through the guitar shop Andertons and their YouTube demos. Very massive for me when I was getting into guitar. You know, learning what different guitars sound like, different amps, different effects in particular. Kind of Anderton's pro guitar shop demos, and kind of just Boss, you know, in different companies doing YouTube demos. I mean, I think YouTube over the years, and Rob's, you know, obviously a pioneer of it, has become a massive platform for discovering not only new gear but new bands as well.
Yes, I mean, I've pretty much since I was a kid, I would say nigh on 100% of the bands I've discovered.
It's quite a big amount.
Yeah. Have been directly from YouTube, whether that be like a recommendation, you know, on the side, or you know, just googling, well, YouTubing whoever they are.
It's the first thing I do.
Yeah.
Someone says, "Oh, have you checked out this band?"
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who are they?
Then you get the image of the band, you get the identity, you get the video, and then obviously you get the tune as well. And it's massive, you know. And I think it's. Do you think it means more now than anything else? Like a YouTube views on a video, like for me, they're a massive representation of that band, you know. But then again, we found that some bands have massive loads of views, you know. But that's not always the best representation of them, you know. Because obviously, if you got a band from America over here, they might not be as big, you know. So it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it depends on like I don't think that the views are everything. I think YouTube is a significant part of that whole music scene now. I think it's way more important than when YouTube first came around.
Well, I don't watch Kerrang or Scuzz anymore.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel that it's essentially replaced that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of become, for the music scene anyway, it's become that music channel.
Yeah.
So of course it's, you know, it is important, but it's not everything.
No. Gigs are the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's still the thing. But you know, if you're going to put out a music video, where are you going to put it?
That's it.
You know, that kind of speaks volumes. But you know, it's interesting, of course. You know, Chapman with Andertons. They're a huge, massive channel. I mean,
massive brand now as well. Like most people, when they buy something in the UK, it's either from Gax that's based in Brighton, or it's probably from Andertons as the main one. You know, they've voted Retailer of the Year for a number of years, and most of that's probably down to their content. Yes,
and I think it shows how big of an impact for a guitar channel or somebody that's trying to get into this, how big of an impact it is to be on YouTube and to do that, because like I know of Andertons and I'm not a guitarist.
Yeah, that's some deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't play anything. I have no skills.
Getting good at that triangle, as you'll find out later on.
Exactly. But I know who they are.
Some deal.
I knew Rob Chapman once, and it's like, I'm not in this scene, and I know of these people. So
it's fascinating in the interview in particular to hear how Rob joined up with the Captain.
Yes.
Sort of that.
Yeah, and you can hear all about that now.
So we're here with Rob Chapman of Chapman Guitars, and obviously known for being lead singer of Dorje and Clockwork Wolf and Co. How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. Nice to meet you guys, and I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, one thing that we like to do on the show is we like to go right back to the origins of a musician. So with that in mind, when was the first time for you remember hearing music and thinking like, this is what I want to do? Was there a moment for you?
So there definitely, I think every musician shares this in common. They have these memories of specific bits of a tune that fire off emotional responses and smells and images and things. And for me, it was the first time I heard the track Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by U2. I was driving back in a car with my dad and my mum, my brother. We'd been to see my uncle, and we put on this track, and I was like, what is this? And I never heard anything like it in my life, with the choir, the gospel choir, and Edge's like delay, reverb guitar. And I was just immediately obsessed. It's like I'd found music. Do you know what I mean? It was weird. I was quite young. And then I got into the Kinks, and I got into a band called Love with an album called Forever Changes. And that morphed into all sorts of stuff. But so that U2, the Kinks kind of got me into music. And then I went to a party when I was maybe 14, 15. And there was a girl there that I really fancied called Amy Barnes. It never happened.
Shout out, Amy.
Yeah, Amy. And I was going to this party because I was interested in Amy Barnes. But what I didn't know was that life had a different twist for me. And in the corner of this living room that the parents had vacated so kids could have a party, there were a couple of little metalheads crowded around a tape deck listening to this music that was just like... And I was like, what is that? And it's Metallica. And I was immediately obsessed. And I went out and I bought Master of Puppets on tape, and then went back and got everything, all the little B-sides, Green Hell and everything, and just was a Metallica guy for years and years and years and years. Pretty much the first tunes I learned were things like Orion, Justice, Blackened. I've really developed a monstrous right hand as a little kid, which I think really helped later on. So I heard a snigger then, that was quite good. So Metallica made me want to get a band. And then I saw the Spanish Guitar Expo with Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Brian May, and Nina Bettencourt, and discovered Joe Satriani playing I'm dropped E, but Satch Boogie.
Right.
That completely ruined my life for about 15 years. I was addicted to that. And that made me want to be a guitarist. So I think U2, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For was the music moment that kind of kicked off me finding music, and it was Metallica and Joe Satriani.
Awesome. Now, for me personally, Rob, and for a lot of people, they'll probably know you for kind of kickstarting the YouTube guitar generation with Andertons. I mean, I kind of put Andertons and yourself up there with pro guitar shop demos, which created a lot of problems with me getting into pedals and spending a lot of unnecessary money and all of that. It's all right. It's not your fault. It's my fault. Through therapy, I've come to learn that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people know you for Andertons and obviously the guitar demos and all that. But for those that don't know, how did you get involved in that? Were you working at Andertons at the time? I know you was teaching. How did you get to know Lee, and how did you kind of become the face of Andertons along with Lee?
I've actually never worked in a guitar store, and it's the one job that I always wanted to have when I was younger. I used to, when I went to college, I went to, it was called the Guitar Institute, it's called the ICMP.
Cool.
And sorry, Plants vs. Zombies just sent me a notification. I need to get rid of it. And which I'm decimating, by the way. So I always wanted to work in a guitar shop because I used to go to Chandler's in Kew, which was the coolest guitar shop ever. Charlie Chandler was still working there doing custom stuff, and I tried my first. I tried all of my first Fender, my first Gibson, all those kind of things. Anyway, I was just making videos on YouTube because I'd originally been making videos on MySpace, and one of the followers went, "Hey man, you should try this new place called YouTube. It's cool. You can upload videos and it's new." So I thought, all right. So I made a video that was like, "Hi, I'm Rob Chapman and welcome to this lesson on the major scale. Here it goes." And it kind of blew up gradually. You know, I got like 100 views. And I kept making videos because, frankly, I was obsessed with the process of making a video. And I was kind of hiding from my ex-wife at the time in a little bedroom in the same house. And it was a therapy for me. You know, failed marriage, sit in a room, make videos, deal with your life. And I made one about Tiny Terror, and it really blew up. And I'd started thinking, I reckon there's a job here that I could kind of create. And I was visiting this guitar store in Hitchin, Stonehouse, called World Guitars. Okay. And it was Aladdin's cave of like exotic PRS and crazy high-end stuff. And I contacted them and I said, "Hey, I make YouTube videos. I'm a guitarist. I've been doing some session work at the time. I'd love to come down and shoot some videos for your store. What do you think?" And Jeff Pumfret, the owner, got back and was like, "Sure. Yeah, why not come over and, you know, how much do you charge?" And I was like, £200 for a day, you know. And he was like, "Yeah, come, you know, made me coffee." I shot a bunch of videos. It was really fun. And I went back and I was doing that for sort of maybe 6 months. Anyway, out of the blue, I got a phone call from Lee. And I'd only heard of Andertons once because I bought a Gibson Flying V from them. But other than that, I wasn't really in the world of looking at guitar retail stores because I just went to World Guitars in Hitchin or the local one where I was in Trowbridge. I got a phone call from Lee saying, "Hey, I've been watching your videos on YouTube. They look really fun. You know, are you free to make YouTube videos for Andertons?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm quite busy. I'm making videos for this other store at the moment." And he said, "Well, how much are they paying you?" And I said, he said, "I'll just double whatever they're paying you." I was like, "What? Serious?" So I quickly sped down to meet Lee and had a meeting, talked about what I wanted to do, you know, basically set down the foundations of I need to be free to say what I think about a product or just not film it. And he was totally cool with that. And that's how it happened. He just he headhunted me. And I left World, joined Andertons. I was free to work for both, but I just didn't have the time when I started with that. A rocket ride to the guitar stars or something.
That's really interesting, man, because obviously when you watch it on the outside, you don't know any of that backstory. Like, you kind of assume that you're around Andertons before, you know, or there's that connection. So it's interesting that they obviously saw that potential in you and saw the potential in the partnership and that collaboration in general.
Yeah, I don't think either of us had a clue how it was going to go down, and I so clear. saying to him a couple of things that I think were really important. The first one was in the first video we ever shot. We sat down and I did the greetings on Rob Chapman. He went, and I'm Lee. And I went, wait a minute. Is there any chance you could be the captain? And he went, why? And I said, pretend we're in a ship. You're the captain of a boat. And he went, all right. And that was it. That was literally the conversation from there. For the last, 12 years or whatever, he's been the captain. And the other one was, I had this phrase, which is the shitter the better. And I always use it if we're stuck on a video, which is, it doesn't need to be perfect. YouTube is like DIY Netflix, and it needs to be that way. It doesn't need to be polished. I don't believe in polished. Human beings aren't clean and polished. And so things can be rough and ready and fun. Throw it together and have a laugh with it. It doesn't need to be perfect. In many counts, the shitter the better.
I think that was a lot of the key of the success of that partnership, man. Is that realness and that humour and that sense that it was like, two blokes having a jam in a bedroom, and that comes across on the screen, and that's obviously why people found it so popular.
We definitely clicked immediately. Like with the first video, we knew that we were going to be mates and it was going to work. It was an immediate chemistry. And I've had that before with people, but never really as much as I have with Lee. I talk to Lee pretty much every day. Obviously, we had a company together, a couple of companies together, and we're friends and everything, so we talk all the time. But it was an immediate, like, I know who you are. He knew who I was, and we were on the same mission to just be dicks with guitar. Yeah, it was good. And what I love about Lee is it's no holds barred. He just does. He's dressed up as Michael Jackson, danced in a graveyard. He's stopped on fruit. I've running side kicked guitars in half. We've thrown stuff out of windows. We've set stuff on fire. It doesn't matter, just whatever's within reason. Whatever is fun and serves the remit of the video.
Amazing.
So focusing on where you are now with Clockwork Wolf and Co. Your initial first EP came out in 2018, but of course a lot has changed since then. You're now living in a different country. You're a father. Yeah. What inspired you to begin this kind of next chapter of the band, and how did yourself and the new members come together?
So it's a bit of a sad but then a fortunate tale, essentially. And I don't want this to get massively political or for anyone to feel like I have any kind of political agenda, because I just don't. But I had and still have touring arranged through the label, because Clockwork is signed, for the end of this year. And we were looking at all of the news and the information about touring with UK artists. And the label manager, Ian, contacted me and he went, man, it's looking like it's going to be really expensive with British musicians now because of, I just dropped my pick. I'm sorry, hold on a second. You can't say that around Danish Pete, by the way, because pick in Danish means something else. It was looking expensive because UK citizens no longer part of Europe. And so if you cross a border, you have to pay a fee. That's not the hard part. The hard part is that you need customs declaration information if you're crossing the border in a van or a car. They call it carnet, and people are very used to carnet when they're part of Europe or they're Schengen. But when you're not, it's a document that lists everything that you have in your possession, how much it cost to buy, where you got it from, and if you're in a van with all your band gear, it's a nightmare, and you have to do it for every border. So, and you're like, well, how many? I'm going to be crossing borders every other day.
Yeah.
Doing Munich, Switzerland, and then you begin France. You're not going to be like, I'll be in France for 2 weeks. That's not how it happens on a European. So it was like adding a couple of grand, and at one point we were like, I was like, oh, that's not so bad. And he was like, that's per person, mate. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So I realized that with the hand we have been dealt, whether or not you agree with it or not, it is currently very time consuming to say the least, but also quite expensive to tour with English musicians. And that made me really sad, because the guys that I'd been working with are second to none. They're unbelievably good. Luckily, they're also very professional, incredibly busy session musicians. So they had lots of other work, although, I don't know how easy it is for them to do all of that with what they've got to deal with now. And we just had a conversation, and I said, look, I'm really sorry, but I don't think we can do the tours with a UK crew. And obviously, thank God, now I have become a Maltese citizen. I am, card carrying, soon to have a passport, Maltese dude. So I'm European and Schengen. So anyway, I didn't sack anybody. I didn't fire anybody. They stepped down. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then Ian just said, my label manager, you need to find European musicians. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to find guys in Malta, because then we can rehearse locally. And because we've been doing everything remotely, and I was a bit nervous at first, because Malta is absolutely tiny. The Maltese Islands, I mean, you could probably fit them in London. And although I knew a couple of musicians in Malta, when you have less population, you're obviously going to have less standout, incredible musicians. Being a professional musician isn't really a thing in Malta. So I held an audition, and I've got the best musicians in Malta, and they are really good. There are only, to my knowledge, 5 or 6 full-time professional musicians in Malta, and I've got 3 of them. Well, we have 3 of them. We are a band. And, so new band, new rules, and something that I was really keen on was, although I have written a whole album, I really wanted Zaya, Rob, and Luke to have an input, to put their DNA on it. So we're taking each song that I've written, kind of deconstructing it, and then putting it back together again the way that they would play parts.
Oh, cool.
Now, the interesting thing there is that the first song we've worked on, which is called Rescind, it's come out as a hard rock prog track. 7. And it's a lot like something Dorje would write. And I was quite surprised. But then I realized, well, the Dorje material was written predominantly by myself and Rabia. Well, all of it was by me and Beer. And apart from one riff, Dave wrote part of Outspoken, the chorus section. So it's not surprising that with a new band of musicians who have interests in Americana and blues and rock, but also prog, and they love bands like Tool and Carnival, and that Clockwork would start to sound more like the combined efforts of the writing team. And so we've got these sections that are a bit like that kind of thing. Just like crazy, broken up breakdowns, but then Americana, sort of. I don't know how that will sound, but it's just like, it's really interesting. It's almost like original Clockwork, slightly blended with what Dorje came from. And I think Rob Spiteri, the drummer, said it's a bit like Clockwork Wolf and Company now. You might be right. It's good. It's heavy. It's still got that Americana blues rock flame, but it's got a highly skilled. The bassist and drummer are jazz professionals as well as blues professionals. Rob will quite happily, the drummer will quite happily sit down and score out everything he's just written and then show it to the bass, then just plays it. They're unbelievable. And they gig every single night and they eat what they earn. It's mad. So they are mega highly skilled musicians, and it's such a blessing to work with people that can just do anything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anything.
Well, the true musicians, by the sounds of it, in the most kind of like honest way. That was going to be my next question, Rob, in terms of the debut album for Clockwork, Time is the Enemy, which is available to pre-order on Kickstarter. Is that going to be that kind of that new sound then, of that amalgamation of them different kind of influences everyone's bringing in.
In fact, the Kickstarter ended a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I need to say a huge thank you to everyone that took part in that, because it's life changing for the band. I mean, we've made like 16K or something.
Oh, that's amazing.
And what I wanted to do with the original amount we asked for, which was 10K, was pay for the life cycle of the album. So obviously the recording, engineering, producing, mastering, manufacture some vinyl, maybe some audio cassettes because they're really cool, and some PR, a little bit of radio, and that comes to like 8-9K. You got to pay a fee to Kickstarter, and you got to pay tax and everything. But then we made a lot more than we asked for. So now we can even make music videos, which is amazing, because if you don't stick with the video, it's like nothing happened. It's mad.
No, it's awesome. It shows the hunger's there for this next chapter of the band as well, which I bet for you is kind of really reinforcing as well, and really positive, because you can tell people want that.
I guess. I think the if I had an outward perspective on myself, which isn't an easy thing to do. I've never written music because I think people want to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. You've got to write for yourself. Otherwise, I think if you force it, that's when things don't work.
It's more that I don't have a choice. It's a curse. I wake up every morning and I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And I get my phone and I'm in the corner of the kitchen trying not to wake the kids, going, na 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 na, and then there's a drum fill, and then Zara comes in with the bass. That's my life. My voice notes on my phone is just hundreds of voice notes of riffs and ideas. And then I get obsessed with riffmongery, writing a new piece. Like I got this kind of thing here that I've been working with for a while, which was originally going to be something I was using in Criterion with Gus, but then I realised it works with anything that I'm currently involved in, and it built this perfect section I was doing on this track Rescind. So anyway, yeah. I love writing. I don't write music for people, but I'm very happy that people like music. The writing happens through me. And also, I never sit down to write music. It just happens. In fact, about 2 months ago, I had an interview, and in the interview, I wrote the riff of a track that I'm going to put on this album. I was like, hold on a minute, do this thing. And then I had this riff. It's like the most awkward time.
But when inspiration strikes, man, you just got to jump on it, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I'm I don't take that for granted, because a lot of people find it hard. They don't get that inspiration, and I don't always, but I'm never looking. That's exciting. It does tend to happen more often when I've had a coffee and I've got some free time. Say, for example, it's during the week, I'm supposed to be working, my wife takes the kids to the beach, they're swimming, and I'm here working, and then suddenly I get this thing in my head, like I feel like I'm going to write something. Do you know what I mean? I have this feeling, and I get a guitar, I get an amp, and I start just jamming, and then I get a thing, it just comes out of nowhere. And I know it's good if I get lyrics at the same time as the riff.
Yeah.
That's when it's like it's coming from the same place. It's like One Thing I Feared was very much like that. Just everything at the same time, like a big brain dump, catharsis of crap going through,
When it comes to a gig in that new material, is there anything like you're particularly looking forward to playing live when you can finally get out?
Yeah, there are a couple of pieces that I'm really looking forward to playing live. I think One Thing I Feared is one, because it's a bit of a challenge vocally. I wrote it really stupidly high. I don't know why. I always write at the limit of my ability and then regret that I've done that. That was one of those moments. And I've got another track. This is being filmed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All right, let me show you a brand new guitar then.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just take my trousers off.
This is a product.
It's beautiful, man.
It's wonderful.
Received in the mail yesterday from a brand called Chapman Guitars.
Big
that I need to own because people get annoyed if I say I don't. So let me just put this back here. Sorry.
That's all right. Take time, man.
That's good, man.
So I got this track that I have been playing for about 20 years that goes.
Yeah, I've seen you do that on many demos, man.
Yeah. That's going to come to life. It's a track called Majesty. And I originally put it out on an album called Bare Bones, which was just a collection of demos. That I was like, I've got all these demos. Some of them are quite good. I might as well just release the demos and then see what happens to them years down the line. So now that like rail track Americana thing turns into this like heavy grunge section. And it's this beautiful marriage of traditional mountain music, hybrid picked filth with the grunge dirt that I grew up with, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden kind of thing.
Awesome. I like that hybrid picking mountain men filth. I mean, that's the genre that we've been waiting for.
Exactly of what I speak. That's the thing.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing that being brought to life. Like I say, because I've seen you do that on many demos. I'm sure many geezers have. That'd be good. Obviously, you mentioned you got a new delivery, and it's a Chapman Guitars. So we'll have to talk a bit about Chapman Guitars. Founded in 2009 by yourself. Over the past 11 years, the company's grown. I mean, massively, man. I mean, it's a household name in the guitar market. And I think you recently announced the final run of the 10th anniversary ML1s to announce that 10th anniversary of the company. When you started the company, did you have an idea in mind of what you wanted the guitars to look like, the identity, the specifications? Because obviously, like the glitter model you've got there with the P90 is completely different to the one you had a minute ago. What was your vision for it, Rob, in the beginning?
I didn't know I was launching a guitar company when I did. It originally just a signature guitar for me as a little artist. 11 years ago, it was the ML1. It was just going to be a signature guitar. And then because I collaboratively designed it with the people that were following me, and the result was a really great guitar, we followed that through. So as a result, it's very seldom or very rare that I have a vision for a product that we make, because normally you guys vote and I have no idea what we're going to make. We never tamper in a poll. We never fix anything. It's just like whatever the people want is probably what will sell. And I think that's what's carried us through thick and thin. So if I have a vision for a product, it ends up being a signature model for me, which sometimes I feel is a little bit... Here's the thing. The models that I make for myself, they sell really well. So I feel really good about that, and it makes me feel justified in making my own guitars. But I do feel sometimes it's a bit like Rob Chapman makes his own guitars for himself. It's stupid, isn't it? But the guitars that we collaborate on the design of, we never know what we're going to make, ever. I've really, from beginning till end, designed 2 guitars, the ML3 RC, which was the calf top T-type signature model for myself.
Yeah.
Came in 2 colors, black and a different color. And the Ghost Fret, which was, I really wanted like a Jackson Kelly kind of vibed.
Yeah.
Or with a slightly smaller body, again, carve on the top, and that kind of thing. And so those were definitely, they got my DNA in them. There are some models that we're working on that probably won't see the light of day for a couple of years that are me. So it's not a secret because I've talked about this before, but I'm working on a hollow body V. It'll be called the Hollow Wing, and it will be hollow body, but you won't see an F hole. It'll just be hollow but covered. I had a Les Paul that did that once. It was I forget what the term was, but it was a mistake. They made a hollow Paul, but then they put a top on it, so you couldn't see it was semi-hollow. But they were supposed to have the F holes, and they there were only like 50 of them, and they were accident. And I bought one because it was so cool. And I thought the world needs a secret hollow wing V. So I'm working on one of those.
Amazing.
And on a guitar that we're currently calling Project Falcon, which is a unique Chapman shape. But yeah, everything else is just it's whatever the people want.
Awesome, man. Killer. Now, in terms of before the interview started, kind of off air, you let us know that you had a sneaky delivery of some sexy amps today. Yeah. In terms of because you've kind of done loads of different projects, and obviously, like you say, different gear depending on the different project. When you go into rehearsal, do you have a certain rig that you're using at the minute, like that you'll probably take out on tour, or do you kind of just go into the rehearsal room and think, I'll try that today, I'll try this today? And the same with guitars. Do you have a particular guitar that you use with Clockwork?
Yes, I absolutely do. So up until today, when I received my Bad Cat amps, I have always just used the RD1 from Victory, RD1 or the BD1.
Yeah.
Because I designed it I didn't design it. I told Martin what I wanted, and Martin Kidd designed it. But I have been blessed with a set of ears that seem to do quite well, and I know exactly what I want to hear. And I was able to achieve that with the RD1 at Victory. And so I've always used that. Anything you've heard recorded from me over the past, I think, 8 years, I think, has been a Victory RD1 or that blended with something else.
Cool.
And what's inside that really was like half a Cornford Hellcat and half of something else blended. And it's a fantastic hand-wired British amplifier. It does everything you need. So I've been using that. And in terms of guitars, my absolute mainstay for the past couple of years has been ML3 Pro Traditional. The semi-hollow version or the solid version. I just love T-types. And the Pro Traditional, for me, it's just got everything it needs. You can shred on it, you can rip on it. Even the P90 one I got here, which is unreleased, it's, it's P90s, but
yeah, it sounds killer, man.
Yeah. That's mad.
And I and that sort of guitar works perfectly for Clockwork, like you say, particularly with this new chapter of the band, because you've got stuff that's a bit high gainy, you've got that kind of rootsy Americana thing, and I'm at that with the P90s with them amps. I bet it cleans up so well, so you can go through them different shades really well, and it feels really natural.
Absolutely, yeah. P90s, they're kind of like the underdog of the single coil world for some reason, but you can get some ridiculous tones out of a P90. I love on a recording having multiple tracks, humbuckers, single coils, and P90s, desaturated, crunch, and then high gain, and blend them. Cool. Because then that fat wall of chunky sound that isn't just one guitar. You need a spectrum of tone. So P90s for me are pretty much always in there somewhere.
Awesome, man.
Now we've talked about like the previous 10 years, but where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Retired.
Totally finished? Done?
Yeah, I think so.
So what's retired life for Rob Chapman then? Is it cooking and guitar noodling and fatherhood?
I'll be teaching martial arts, and I'll be cooking, and I'll be writing music, and still working with Chapman Guitars. But I think at a certain point, I'm going to want to stop touring and big kids and everything, and sort of relax a bit more and take it easy and enjoy life differently. I feel like I've already had 2 lives because who the hell knew I was going to have a guitar company or be in a band that did anything at all, or I didn't know any of that stuff. It's mad. It's all like it's happened to me. I sometimes feel like life happens to me. But a lot of people don't know that since I was 8, I studied martial arts, been interested in Asian culture and language and food and medicine. And I used to teach martial arts full-time professionally, and I'm actually toying the idea of starting up and teaching again, just locally, alongside other things, just to keep me body and mind moving and keep myself in the game, physically fit and everything. And having done it for such a long time, it's a big part of what I love, and I'd love to return to that, when things quieten down and sort of, I think that would be a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, man. Now, you kind of toyed with it a little bit, sadly, kind of the reason why you've had to come for this new lineup for Clockwork Wolf. I mean, do you still have plans to tour, obviously, with the album coming out?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So at the moment, obviously, who the hell knows? I mean, you can have a tour planned and it doesn't mean anything, So I'm not going to give any information on potential tour dates or locations or whatever. But we absolutely plan on touring. But since at the moment that's a bit tricky and a bit difficult, we're like, well, what can we do? Well, we're going to reconstruct these tracks and go ahead and record the album. And something that we're doing differently with this album is that, I say differently because most people don't do this, but we want to record it live. The first EP, In the Sunshine, was recorded live to an extent. The drums and the guitar went down at the same time, which is me and Chris, very loud in the same room. And it felt great. And in fact, the track In the Sunshine was the first take, and Chris didn't even know the song. He didn't even know it. He literally, how does it go? And I went, tell you what, I'll play it and you feel it and we'll see how it goes. And I played it and he played the take. The one you hear on the album EP, that's the first time we ever played it through.
That's amazing.
Hardwick is, insane. But with Time Is the Enemy, I've grown tired of studio perfection music and everything polished and, just shelved verbs, and I don't know. I want the hair on it. I want the dirt. I want the realness, stakes, the warts and all. Because when I listen to old music, it's those little glitches that give it personality and that make me remember it. So we've opted to track all of the instruments live, same time, and then I'll sing separately because there's complications with bleed and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
With vocal, but we'll fence everything off, be loud, and we'll have at it over 7 days, and we'll just smack out a live album. I'm excited.
Easy.
That's really cool, man. Yeah. Now, one question that we like to finish on, it's a bit of a hypothetical one. If you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be?
The past, it would be Jimi Hendrix in a band of Gypsies. And in the present, it would be Devin Townsend.
Yeah,
amazing. I liked how quick you were, Rob. Normally people swear at that
people
point.
Are like, oh, God,
they normally tend about 15 minutes, kind of getting emotional. As you were like, bang, like
immediate. I'm a massive Devin Townsend fan. He is my god. I was lucky enough to go backstage and see him before everything happened with COVID, and witness him warming up his vocals. F me. he has some vocal prowess. He is unreal. He came out in a black tutu screaming.
Outstanding.
The guy's amazing. And obviously Jimi Hendrix was a creative genius. And I love everything that man did, not just for music, but for all sorts of other reasons. And he's just a great dude. And
Cool. It's a nice expression of the two different sides of guitar personality as well. Yeah. I think that's really cool. Nice. So what's the gig? We've got Clockwork Wolf and Co. Opening. Then we've got Devin in a tutu screaming. And then we've got Jimmy with Band of Gypsies.
Yeah.
I like
crazy
that.
line out.
We'll get on it. Yeah. And I'll drop you an email, see how we're getting on.
Get some magic towers.
Yeah, we'll get some magic sorted.
If I had to put together a super band of my favourite musicians, it would be Pino Palladino on bass.
Of course.
It would be oh no.
You've given yourself the difficult question.
You can't even blame us for this.
Yeah. I would want Jimi Hendrix on the guitar. I would want Chris Cornell on vocals.
So you've only got drums left.
I'm stuck between Marco or the Chili Peppers. Probably Marco minimum. And then I would play triangle so I could sit back and watch everything happening.
Yes, that's where I'm usually doing.
Ryan's fucking awesome.
On that triangle.
He's immense at triangle, man. Sometimes I'm in disbelief. I just see him in the corner, just with his triangle.
Fierce triangle skills. Just putting it out there for anybody that requires that.
Band, you know.
Amazing. Right, Rob, thanks ever so much for your time, brother. It's been great to chat.
Well, really
can't wait to hear the album. It sounds like a really cool... I can't wait to hear this influence of these new musicians that have come in and kind of that Dorje, Clockwork Wolf, Americana, a grungy heaviness. It sounds killer.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And I appreciate you taking the time to chat to me as well.
Thanks for coming to chat with us.
Fantastic. For those that don't do it already, what are you doing? Follow Mr. Chapman on YouTube, Facebook, and same with Clockwork Wolf and Co on Instagram and all the normal things. And yeah, can't wait for the album, man. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, dude. Bye.
So yes, that was Chappers of Clockwork Wolf and Co, and obviously YouTube fame. I found that really interesting, man, particularly the link up between like how him and Lee got together, because I always assumed, like I said to him, like I assumed he worked at Andertons or was around that community, whereas the fact that kind of Lee went out and picked him out, he saw the potential in him. I mean, it's a credit to Lee, really, isn't it? Because he must have foreseen that partnership working and foresaw the entire YouTube generation kicking off.
Yes, it's very interesting. I mean, a big thing that I loved in that interview, of course, he came straight in with the guitar, with the gear.
We like that.
It always makes me think this is going to be a good interview when I see something like that.
Ryan's eyes lighting up.
Yeah, so I was just like, yes, this is what we need.
I enjoy it, man. I mean, I thought Chappers came across great. I think it's just nothing but positivity. It seems like he's got a really cool life out in Malta. And it feels like Clockwork Wolf and Co are in a really cool creative chapter. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, that Kickstarter campaign,
smashed.
He's killed it on that. The overall enthusiasm that
was your biggest thing, wasn't it? The enthusiasm. I was like, I love the guitar and
but like he speaks really passionately about his gear and stuff, and obviously he's got his own guitar brand now, and I think that's the kind of person you want in charge. Like if you want a guitar done, like made or want to buy a guitar, like you want somebody that's that passionate.
You want someone that's enthusiastic about what they've. I mean, he gets sent models and he's excited.
That's it.
He literally had one that day, didn't he? He's played it and he loved it. I like that.
Yeah, it's you never
lose that.
No,
music, because that's the whole reason we do it in the first place.
But it's really, really cool. It'd be cool to hopefully see him on the road at some point.
Definitely, 100%. I'm looking forward to the album as well. That'll be very interesting.
Yes, so of course that is it for this week on Beyond the Vibe. If you like what we're doing, you can subscribe, of course, and follow us. We release a podcast every Saturday from 10 a.m. If you want to find out what guest we've got, you can follow us on Facebook, and every Wednesday from 10 a.m. We reveal who that guest is in the form of a trailer. And if that's not enough, we also release on a Thursday, occasionally, we put out extra vibes, which could be any topic. It could be a top 10, it could be something to do with albums, it could be like best album of the last decade, lots of different things like that. And we've also got something else in the pipeline as well.
I don't even know about it.
To be revealed. So keep your eyes out for that.
Very surprising. I'm not allowed to find out about it until the very second. So I will 100%.
No, nobody knows.
Not even Ryan knows.
Not even I know.
No pressure there.
Yeah.
But like Mr. Very said, we do all sorts of bits and bobs here at Beyond the Vibe, and we hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Please click the bell, and then you'll never miss an episode of Juicy Beyond the Vibe goodness. So go over to all the socials, give us a like, a follow, and comment below your thoughts on this week's interview with Mr. Rob Chapman, aka Chappers.
Yes.
And we will see you
next week.